Now you might be asking, how the heck is a 19-year-old with little financial support able to create a manga within the span of a month? However, that's the purpose of this video. So first, let's actually prepare the context. What made me create this manga was because I had a story and vision, even know that no matter how many times I attempted to actually try to create it, managed to actually pull through despite it not meeting my 100% expectation. But it might actually work in my favor than you think. Now the truth is, if you want to do something, you literally just do it. Instead of making excuses, what if this doesn't work out? I don't have enough of this. I don't have that. And the reality is, if you actually just accept the fact that these limitations for you to create your project, you're more likely going to pull through with resilience. But the reality is, there's no such thing as the perfect time or perfect conditions or perfect amount of resources to actually complete anything. I only had a certain amount of paper. I didn't have that much ink or supplies. The tools I have were pretty expensive, and if not used wisely or properly, I could actually mess everything, including my tools, and everything could go down the drain. Now I pulled through with it, experimented, made a lot of mistakes, failed a certain amount of times. Despite that, I succeeded not by being perfect, but by doing my best and using a certain amount of attempts to actually accomplish my goal. The real question is, what does it take to create a manga? Story writing, background designs, character designs, illustration, your art style, and it's a whole lot more. And there's not one specific formula on how to create manga. This is just a basic pattern of what it takes to actually create almost any manga. The reality check is, no matter how fine or legendary your anime script is, regardless if it has women with such questionable features, especially their age, or even the most complex power system a shonen fan can possibly ask, it is to note that the energy level and the real life fantasy really shows how no amount of imagination or positive thinking can ever overcome. Now, I'm going to assume that you're probably some high schooler or some college student preparing a project for the public. And the reality is, can you actually handle the pressure of the process or the fact that this project that you're specifically working for will be in the eyes of probably hundred, thousands, or even millions of people? And can you track your mistakes and move forward without having to feel like a failure? Because the reality is, society has its expectations on us that our progress has to be rigid or linear, or else there's something wrong with us. But the reality is, most processes or progress in general is not actually linear. So if we were to lie to ourselves that we're failures because we're not meeting these standards, we're just as fools as those people who labels us. I know this may sound philosophical or it might contradict what I'm about to say later, but the truth is, true imagination and creativity comes from something that never had standards to begin with. But putting standards in place allows us to actually turn this raw imagination material into anything that we want. Not that standards are a bad thing, but too much standards kind of ruin what originally made it beautiful to begin with. Now you might be wondering, well, this might be easy for you to say because you obviously have more experience of drawing than us, and you're right. I probably have been drawing for 5 years and still struggle to reach a level that I probably may not even achieve because of my expectations. But the reality is, it doesn't matter where you are in life, nor that this should be a verdict of what you can and cannot achieve. This is just like saying, because you have no experience, you cannot get the job. In order to get a job, you must get experience. Do you see how redundant this statement is? And for anyone watching this video, it is irrelevant regardless if you have this experience or not, as long as you're willing to adapt to this situation and basically just read the room. I just started my project probably like 1 or 2 months ago, and if you think I haven't failed a certain amount of times, or if I'm not currently failing or struggling right now, let me show you some behind the scene footage of chapter 2. So you might be thinking, well, Makoto, this art is actually decent enough. Well, how bad could it be? Now, I just made some filled pages, and yeah, I have to redraw some of these because they lack design or the general aesthetic of what the plot is going for. The art style is a little bit inconsistent, and it doesn't match up to the quality as what I was aiming for early. Yikes. Now, to be completely honest, I don't necessarily consider these pages bad, but they're just a little bit inconsistent of what I'm currently aiming for, and I'm trying to keep the momentum as the creator to actually, make this as presentable as possible, really. And if you want to go really deeper, these are childhood manga pages. I probably drew around, I would say, 15 or 16. I'm sorry that they're upside down. Actually, let me fix that. Yeah, so the art is actually pretty decent, I'm not gonna lie. Congrats for my 15 or 16-year-old self. But unfortunately, we need to upgrade the art style a little bit just to make it a little bit more realistic and presentable for my audience. And so my original aim was around like 30 or 40 pages, but for the sake of the schedule I'm setting up, I would make around at least like 15 to 25 pages, which means I have to skip for the sake of consistency and world building, such and such. So I probably have to like get rid of some unnecessary dialogue. Need some big boy paper. But the reality is that it doesn't matter if I showed you a few seconds of footage of my current project, because as I said earlier, this was a childhood manga, which means by the time I actually try to finish and edit this project around 2026 this year, that basically means that anything that I originally illustrated or written before will be most likely scrapped down the drain and modified so that would actually make sense in the eyes of an adult. So anyways, let's continue the video. So don't see failure as the end of your story, but see as data points or attemptions of how you actually got from point A to point B. And if you really want to go beyond that, you might even go to point C if you ask. To be honest, if you actually just go outside of your vision and just accept the process, you might even get an outcome that's better than what you think, and that's what I got from experience. So technically, it's possible to transcend perfectionism. At the end of the day, art is used as a tool to share information regarding around how the world works, characters work, or what message you're trying to tell, and it doesn't have to be a masterpiece. In fact, less is more, and you don't need to be necessarily professional or even a master to be good at spreading information. You just need to make sure that the art serves its purpose on going from point A to point B to the listener. And information is not always as black and white as you think of it, because it heavily relies on context and interpretation and such and such. And no amount of training in the arts of language and communication can change the fact that we live in a world full of miscommunication, and information moves faster than the speed of light. So I hope you understand why creating manga can actually be a little bit more complicated than you think, and is more than just putting information or even just doodles on a piece of paper. If you made it this far in the video, I would say thank you so much. You actually locked in and actually pay attention to everything that was said. If you have any suggestions on how I can improve my video editing style and footage, please link in the comments below. This is the first time I'm actually using a schedule to be productive and powerful in this video. And I would use as much support as possible to continue making uploads. Now, I'm going to put my time and energy into actually finish this chapter 2, and I have a lot of stuff I need to work on. Anyways, guys, later.